wild. The 1 day off season.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stochastic.com NFL Strategy Show, first look edition, putting out the first look anywhere else in the industry, man. We're digging in. Little cursory peek here, laying the foundation. My favorite show of the week because I get to look at stuff over last week that we haven't maybe touched on yet, or we discover new things on this show. And that's what makes it fun. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on Twitter, LOUGHY_D, sorry, on the X. Joined by, if you put the in front of it, it's not bad. I was trying to explain this to Neil yesterday. Ben Rasa at JazzRaz DFS on the X as well. It's true. Just don't call it X, call it the X, and everything will be fine.
No, I'm going to call it Twitter.
You can't, dude. It's going to be memory hold soon enough, and you're going to be the last person on earth.
What does that mean?
You're going to look dumb.
I don't even know what you just said. Memory hold?
What, have you never read George Orwell's 1984?
No, didn't read that.
What are you, a moron?
It's been alleged before, based on some of the things I said on the week 1 show. Yeah, for sure.
You've never read that? I would have thought that you
really
personally would have read 1984.
No.
All right. Well, I'm using it in the wrong context anyway. It's more
Shocking.
It's more so like, an authoritarian government that just memory holes any, form of history or whatever that's happened. It's gone. Poof. See you later. Down the hole. But what I'm saying is, like, Twitter will be the distant past soon enough, and you'll be the last one.
I read The Giver. You remember The Giver? Did you read that in school? I had to read that like 6 different times.
Every book that was ever assigned to me in school, I'm not proud to say it, but I didn't read.
Yeah, that's why I just used The Giver. Every summer reading, I just used The Giver. It was great. Same book. Good times.
And I wish I did read them, because as I got older, a lot of them I read on my own. Like, I just wanted, remember I told you I was reading Crime and Punishment?
Yeah, that's quite a novel.
I quit. Terribly boring book. I'm not sure what all the hype is about, really.
Yeah, I didn't get through that one, but
how you feeling?
Dostoevsky or whatever. I'm good. Wild game. I was saying to you before, yeah, quite a game last night. You couldn't. I mean, I don't think I'll just say this: the sim needs to tone it down, not our sims, just society sims. Because if they give us 18 weeks of football like this, I'm not going to make it. These games are too crazy. These storylines are too absurd. That game last night was worth 3 games in drama.
It's one of the best games I've seen in a long time out.
But it was a great game, but it was great in the sense of just like, this is just drunk. Like, it wasn't like, oh, what an amazing game, but it was amazing nonetheless. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. But also, like, I'm all about the emotions too. I was thinking of the emotions going through these Jets fans, right? First of all, there's no doubt that, I don't know, maybe some of you guys were there. You could tell me in the area, like, what these tickets were going for Aaron Rodgers' debut. My guess is it was not inexpensive. And it's the most anticipated and hyped up this Jets team and the fan base has been since they drafted Zach Wilson, right? That's the last time. Not too long ago, but that ended up being a train wreck, right? Crash and burn disaster. Probably a wrong time to use that. It would have been worse yesterday. But here's what I'm saying. You have these emotions of pure jubilance. Aaron Rodgers runs out with the American flag on 9/11. Holy shit, man. Even if you're Josh Engelman, you get some feels from that. This is a big game, divisional rivalry against Buffalo. In East Rutherford to kick off the season, Aaron Rodgers trots out under center. Boom, he's down. Torn Achilles. So you go from the happiest you've ever been to wanting to very upset. And then Wilson comes in. It doesn't look great, but that defense for the Jets is as stout as it comes, man. They are purely dominant. They're fantastic. And somehow they're 2,700 this week against the pick machine in Dak Prescott. We'll get there. But you think about this. Now it's just misery. They're depressed. It's horrible. And then things start to turn around a little bit. Breece Hall's the fucking man. Guy rips off an 82-yard run. He's a stud. I think he could be, once healthy, fully healthy again, which he seems to be, the best running back in the league. Things turn around. Then it goes back and forth. Buffalo drives down the field, take it to overtime. And then what happens? They punt. And then Xavier Gibson, a rookie who just barely made the team, we saw it on Hard Knocks, runs it back into the end zone. Robert Salah's in there with them. The huge pile. Zach Wilson doesn't disgrace himself. Couldn't be happier. And then on the drive home, reality strikes again. And you go,
Yes.
Shit, man, we've got Zach Wilson at quarterback. So the range of emotions for that Jets fan base yesterday must have been insane. It was a whirlwind for me. I thoroughly enjoyed that to close out week 1. And that's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up nicely. Reality is going to set in. The season is not going to go well for the Jets, and they have a Super Bowl defense, which is unfortunate for them, but just one of many teams. I don't have a ton else to really say. I'll rapid fire a couple. I thought that Mike Vrabel, who's a great coach, made the worst decision of the entire week. I don't understand what he was doing when you're down 4 points and it was like 4th and 6. I think it was from inside the 20 late in the game and you kick a field goal. You just can't do that. You got to go for it. They never got the ball back. That was just a coaching mistake from a guy that I don't consider dumb by any.
It was 17. What was it, like 17-13 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to go. You got to go. That's not up for debate. Obviously, for me, most disappointing thing by far was the Steelers. They got no-showed and they got outclassed at home by the Niners, who are a great team. It's not like I didn't think the Niners could do that, but that line dropped all week. I caught good numbers on that line, and I couldn't have been more off base. The Steelers they were thoroughly outplayed. And that was the most disappointing effort of the week for me.
They got the brakes beat off of them.
They got destroyed.
I mean, like, would I have been so shocked if San Francisco won? No, they're an awesome football team. But that was not at any point in the game competitive. Nope. Do you know what the pass play percentage was for Pittsburgh in that, or the run play percentage for Pittsburgh in that game? I actually put a thread out yesterday with all the backfield breakdowns and included that. I'll tell you, 16% run plays. They abandoned everything immediately. It was terrible. Terrible.
They'll be all right. Like, not that I care about the Steelers by any stretch. I think they're going to be just fine. I was just very surprised that they couldn't muster up any resistance at home in a game. At home in a game that closed basically as not a pick 'em, but pretty damn close.
2 points, right?
Yeah, a couple points inside 3.
Yeah, and the money line was like 115.
110. Yeah,
110. Yeah, yeah. Somebody mentioned in chat that Aaron Rodgers was overrated. That doesn't. With the defense as good as it is for the Jets, it doesn't matter. Like, Aaron Rodgers just needs to be serviceable, and that team would be a legitimate championship contender with Breece Hall in the backfield, Dalvin Cook, Garrett Wilson. I'm telling you right now, that I don't think that is even a remote hot take, Ben, to say that if Aaron Rodgers was just okay, didn't have to be great. Like, I'm not talking Peyton Manning in Super Bowl 50 bad, but like, he just needed to be good enough. And that team every single week is live to win and win big.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Rodgers is overrated, so I disagree with it on a lot of fronts.
Oh, okay. So you actually thought this would have been a pretty solid season for? Yeah, I mean, why not?
Like, not the best quarterback in the league, but that was the bar for quite a while. Like, he would be in the upper half easily, and that's more than enough given that team. Yeah. I think, at least.
Yeah, and I'm saying, though, all he would need to be is serviceable. Not
but
great.
He's not like, I don't consider him like, oh, you're Trent Dilfer. Like, you have a championship defense for Baltimore. You just don't do anything. Yeah, that may have worked, but it's Aaron Rodgers. I would have expected him to do things and be just a straight positive, not a wash.
As Adam Baumother said, he's a lot better than Zach Wilson.
Well, that's confirmed.
They have to make a move. See if they get Brady in there. See, I would take Carson Wentz at this point with that defense. Just don't screw it up. There's a few guys I would take. What?
ETR, your boy from the preseason.
Oh my God, that would be crazy. Old Thompson Robinson?
Guy's good.
I liked what I saw from him, man.
No, he could play. I mean, that's never going to happen, but that would be awesome.
I liked what I saw from him a lot. Jake said Wentz is the best at screwing it up. Yeah.
I'd rather have Rodgers than
Boss
Wentz.
Bro said Brady, LMAO. I don't think, I don't know. People are certainly missing the point. Like if Zach Wilson is as bad as he was last year, you need somebody that's just not the worst in the league. Anyway, a couple of things I wanted to hit on, and then we'll get into this. Hit that thumbs up, guys, if you haven't done so yet. We got over 200 people in the room on a Tuesday talking week 2 football. Shout out to you guys for joining us this morning. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Please help us get to 100K and leave a comment down below if you're listening or watching after the fact. One more thing, podcast, right? We're going to reveal the podcast winners, week 2 deeper dive, free season of all of our NFL tools. Second and third place get a free month each, $199 value for those. But forget about all that for a second. You go to Apple Podcasts, you go to Spotify, wherever it is you listen. We're doing podcast exclusive episodes. I know you guys really loved the one that Ben and I did last week. Thank you for listening and supporting that single entry 3-max strategy. We're doing that again today. So extended strategy show versions, podcast exclusive. You can only find it in podcast. We keep it under 30 minutes, get you in and out, and get you set up for those of you who love single entry and 3-max. So we got you covered there. But couple things I wanted to mention quickly. One, Broncos, hilarious. Another game where it looked nothing. There were some flashes that you go, okay, maybe like Javonte Williams looked okay. Pirine was efficient. Russell Wilson had a couple plays, but they finished with 16 points and lose 17-16. A 1-point game, defense does their job, allows only 17 points. And once again, regardless whether it's Hackett or it was Peyton there, they couldn't get the job done, Ben. It was so fitting in week 1. And I took the Raiders. I took the points. I didn't take the money line. I should have. But that was one spot where I look back and I just go, not surprised even a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you got to win. They better win this week. We'll be talking about them. They get another home game. Those are bad losses. And Jimmy G, that guy, he just wins. He really does. Not really a fan of him, but he gets the job done more often than not. Probably a lot of variance in there, but there's some teams. I mean, it's only week 2 and everybody overreacts to everything that we've seen. But there are a couple teams that truly have games where if you lose, it's serious, serious business immediately.
What about the fact that the Giants simply cannot protect their quarterback? That is an issue. Now, against a team like Dallas,
yeah,
that's kind of par for the course. If you're going up, but the problem is, look at the defensive lines and the pass rushes of the teams in their division, man. Look at the Eagles. Look at the Cowboys. Even Washington. You're going to have a tough time in that division playing those guys 8 times.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. If tough matchups, no doubt. But I'll put it like this: of all the teams I'm worried about, the Giants are not that high on the list, honestly.
Why? They were the flukiest team in the league last year, and everybody knew it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could take it from that standpoint. Maybe I'm not worried because I didn't expect that much from them this year, but
okay, that kind of makes, I get that.
I just think that they're going to be where they're going to be, not because they lost. Like that game was, talk about fluky. I'm not saying they would have won, but like they drove all the way down. They're kicking a field goal and then they're down 7-0 and the game unraveled. Like,
sure, I'm not saying I think they're going to lose 40-0 every week. All I'm saying is you can't have Jones running for his life against a good pass rush. Last thing I want to ask you on, because I know you had some higher hopes for this team. I think one of the spots that we're talking about a little less than others because the Giants got blown out, the Steelers got blown out. There were a bunch of just weird games. Justin Fields and that revamped Bears offense looked possibly as bad as you could against the Packers. I have respect for that Packers defense. I really do. But what an awful showing at home in front of that crowd.
Definitely a bad one. I don't know what to make of that. That's probably the most confusing game. First of all, it seems like at the very least, Jordan Love isn't going to be awful, and that's a problem in itself.
He needs Aaron Jones, though. I'll tell you that much.
Aaron Jones was great. He tweaked the hammy, but it looks like it's no big deal. And Fields just really couldn't get it going. Like you saw, it reminded me of the Broncos a little bit. You saw some flashes. There were a couple of times where it was like, all right, now they're getting it together. And every time they did that, it just didn't work. But they're another team. I'm not overly worried about them. They got a rebound. I think the Giants get Arizona this week. You win that, you're 1-1.
Yep.
Everybody forgets.
Somehow the Commanders barely beat Arizona.
That's the game. Talk about important. The Broncos get the Commanders at home. You have to win that game. You just have to win it.
You're saying if you're the Broncos?
Yes. You can't be 0-2 at home against those teams.
Especially with Sam Howell.
You have to win that game.
With that defense, if Russell Wilson can't give you 21 points, you know what I mean? I'm not asking you to put up 30. If you're Russell Wilson and you can't drop, because if I asked you this, if I said, okay, Denver scores 21 points, do they win or lose?
I would say I would probably sign for that if I was them.
You'd say win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would I. Anyway,
yeah.
You ready to talk?
I'm not worried. I'm not worried about anything. The only teams. Yeah. Let's get into this slate. Actually,
I'm not saying to be worried. I'm saying that there are certain teams that it's just par for the course. They get hyped up so huge in the offseason and then fall completely flat. Week 1 is whatever. I mean, the Eagles didn't look good. Seahawks looked terrible against the Rams. We don't have enough time for all that. We'll be here until 5:00 if we talk about all the teams that were significant favorites or at least supposed to be competitive and just got trashed. Upper tier of quarterbacks, and of course, atone for your sins, hit that thumbs up. Takes a single second, just a subtle reminder. Patrick Mahomes at the top. There's a few guys here. I'll tell you right now who my favorite quarterback is. We don't have ownership. It's a Tuesday. My favorite quarterback in the top tier is not Mahomes. It is not Lamar, although I do think that Baltimore-Cincy game, people might shy away from it because of how awful those two offenses looked last week. Wouldn't be shocked if it ends up getting crazy. By far, for me, I expect a massive bounce back for Josh Allen against the Raiders this week.
Now that is at the top of the list of must wins in week 2.
Big time.
And they will win. They're 8-point favorites at home against the Raiders, who I don't know who gave them the schedule. Nice start for the Raiders at Denver, at Buffalo. Yeah, right. Like, Jesus. I mean, that's just awful. But this is a great spot for Josh Allen. He was bad. What can you say? You can't turn the ball over like that. I watched a lot of Josh Allen in college. That's kind of what he did there. He was fumbling, he was throwing crazy interceptions. But this is still, the volume is there. He had 36 yards rushing, threw the ball 41 times. They're going to be better. They're going to be more efficient. He's sub 8K. Best quarterback on the slate for me.
So we're in lockstep at those top tier guys, huh? Obviously, if Kelsey's in there, that's interesting. Very expensive stack, though, just between Mahomes and Kelsey. Very expensive. 83 and 7,600. Josh Allen stacks aren't exactly cheap, but there's ways to make it work. What about the Lamar and Joe Burrow spot in this game? What's the total in this?
In the Cincy game?
Yeah.
46.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Neither offense Joe Burrow threw for 82 yards and they punted on their first 7 drives. Okay. That's how bad it was. That is how bad it was. However, I had Browns first half money line because I really did think that this team could come out there super rusty. I took first half because I thought they might settle in the second half, and that never came to fruition. But Browns didn't even play that well. It's just the defense did, but the offense was serviceable. That's it. Do you think this game could shoot out here, or is it not one that you're actually looking at?
I mean, anything obviously can happen, but no, I'm not. I'm a little skeptical of what's up with the Bengals. I'm not saying I predicted that by any stretch, but I wasn't shocked to see them not look great. And I worry a little about where Burrow's at. Certainly, not that he was ever extremely mobile, but if you're going to just be a straight statue, well, that makes it tougher. It makes it tougher to get there. And against Baltimore in a divisional game like this, I'm not really on that side. I would rather play Lamar, find someone, and then if you want to go Higgins or Mixon or Chase as the bring back, that to me makes a lot more sense than having the Bengals stack and trying to bring it back with if Andrews is out there or Flower or whoever for the Ravens.
Yeah, there's a couple of other mid-range guys as well. Justin Herbert against Tennessee. But let me tell you something, man. Last year, that team threw at the second highest clip behind only Tampa Bay. Well, now that you have Kellen Moore as your offensive coordinator, did you see how often they ran? They ran at the 4th highest clip in football on Sunday. I'm not saying that discounts Justin Herbert. I'm not. Or I'm sorry, I'm not saying it makes him unplayable. I do think though that makes him week to week. We have to be very cognizant of that. It is a pass funnel defense for Tennessee, though. This run defense is very, very good. So I think you see more passing there, might see more passing. And Eckler's dealing with an ankle injury that we have to monitor as well. Weird game to talk about on both sides.
Yeah, I don't really like that situation much, if at all, to be honest. You look at Herbert, it's just 1 week. And if you quick look, you're like, oh, pretty solid. He scored on the ground, which is really atypical. And that masked what was a pretty lackluster performance with, 228 and a touchdown. It's not even close for a guy like that. So for me, I would try to find the money. Fields, you mentioned he struggled. It's still Fields. And he's going to, for them to win games, it looks like he's going to have to be a magician. He's going to flirt with 100-yard bonuses. And I would much rather have that volatility with a guy like Fields than Herbert right now.
I agree with the sentiment, but I am wondering, like, that it's only one game, but that Tampa defense really looked good. Like, remember, it wasn't long ago that Tampa Bay had, arguably the best defense in the league. I do wonder, and I know they lost a couple of guys, if they can get back to being, one of the top defenses in football.
Possible. I think Fields supersedes that just because what he does is so unique. But
no, I get that. Anthony Richardson, if he plays at 6,300 against Houston, I mean, that's a spot I'm 100% willing to get to. Jared Goff, 6,200 against Seattle. That game has a 49-point total. I think it's going to climb north of 50. So that's another one we can touch on. Trevor Lawrence at 6,700. I don't know how I feel about Lawrence here, but that Chiefs defense didn't look great. Honestly, the Chiefs defense didn't allow much production, right? What was that, a 21-20 game? And one of the touchdowns for Detroit was on a pick six.
Yep.
But the Chiefs have holes. They do get Chris Jones back, which is significant. So I don't think I love Lawrence, but this is a 51-point total game. It is the highest on this slate. So that's worth discussing at least. And then, like I said, Jared Goff, and I'm talking mid-range here, like 6K to 7K. Daniel Jones against Arizona. I'll tell you, Ben, I think I probably land on more just like Saquon Barkley and Darren Waller shares than I do Daniel Jones. That's early. I could be completely wrong on that, but it's obviously a good spot for him.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. He's another one. If that line is as bad as it seems, he'll be running all over the place, and he's a big guy like that. That's
he led
fine.
the team in rushing attempts on Sunday.
Yeah, and he'll be more efficient. I think they're going to beat the Cardinals. Trevor Lawrence, he makes a lot of sense. I just anticipate when we do get ownership up, he's going to be very popular just because of the allure of a game of north of 50. Like, there's just no doubt about it. It's a great stack. You can have Kelsey run backs. You can have all sorts of things. So I get that. I'm not saying I'm going in another direction. I'm just saying I think popularity will be there. I don't know how low I'm going to go, though. Like, I'm looking at Baker and those guys. They seem fine, but I'm not sure tournament wise that there's a path to really getting there unless pricing is so tight that we need the pay down option.
Right now for me, and look, we've only looked at so much. So Jordan, when did you get a dog?
Wait, what?
Oh, okay. Okay. I was going to say the only two guys right now that I'm looking at, $5,900 Geno Smith. There's still the weapons there. They still have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett underwhelming, but they still have Lockett, played 90% of snaps, Jackson Smith and Jig, but they got guys for sure. Against Detroit looked not bad against Kansas City, but Kansas City's receivers, specifically Kadarius Toney, beat themselves. And Brock Purdy, 5,700. The only issue there is he's not mobile like you'd prefer, but that team is crazy.
I mean, the team is crazy. I'm going to struggle immensely with the Niners all year because I've just struggled with them. I don't really understand. They scheme so well and they have so many playmakers. It's just tough for me to see, like, efficiency is good, but it becomes a detriment in fantasy if you're too efficient in some ways. And Purdy's kind of like that to me.
That's true. Not to mention you have Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey.
The defense.
The
Like,
the defense, it does get tough. I had to throw them out there though, just because that team's
no, I
playing.
get it.
That team's good. Any other cheap guys you want to touch on that you might have some of? I looked, I didn't see much.
I don't really see anything. I think you can blindly buy on Jordan Love just being really good and just saying he should never be 5,500 ever.
Really?
And yeah,
Okay.
I think that's fair. I don't think I'm going to do that, but you've got an Atlanta team that I think is pretty uninspiring just in general, and you've got a quarterback that, I mean, there is a chance in a year or two we will laugh that Jordan Love was ever this price.
Can I tell you what my one concern in this game is though? It's twofold. One,
Tempo.
I do think Atlanta's defense has improved. And I'm not just saying that because of Bryce Young and then putting up 10 points. I mentioned this on Sunday that I think I've mentioned it for a while. They made some significant improvements. How good? That's yet to be seen. But two, Ben, all they want to do is run the football. And that's the only thing I don't like. If they can effectively run the football against the Green Bay Packers run defense that last year was no stalwart. So if they can run the football effectively, how much clock does this Atlanta team eat up? That Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson backfield looks pretty good right now. Desmond, they don't want Ritter to throw the ball at all. He threw 18 times last game and they got an easy win. That's my issue with playing quarterbacks against Atlanta right now.
Yeah, and it's a real issue. There's no doubt about it. That's what we're gonna have to deal with. There are game scripts though that can phase that out. You just need to get to that game script.
Want to talk running backs here?
Yeah, this is where it gets tricky. I mean, running backs in general are always tough, but the Eckler situation, right off the bat, and then you've got McCaffrey, who again I said I didn't like last week, and he didn't kill me. I didn't play him at all, but he also certainly would have been fine if you did. In fact, when you're scoring 65-yard touchdowns, I don't know what to do with him again this week.
Well, I have a couple of things. I have a couple of things to talk about here. One, there were some concerns, and you know what? I shared the belief too that, hey, you know what? This team is so good. Maybe Elijah Mitchell, who's not a bad backup, maybe he does get some additional work early in the season, right? I don't think that was a crazy thought to keep McCaffrey fresh because the team defensively and offensively is just so dominant. That was not the case at all because this man had 22 carries and had 5 targets to Mitchell's 1. He played almost 90% of snaps in the game, and they blew out the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, you're talking about a game where you could have easily just given McCaffrey some rest in the latter stages of that contest. They did it. He played 90% of snaps and had, I think, 29 total looks. Whew. Now, the Rams had a nice game in a divisional spot. They got 2 divisional spots back-to-back in week 1 against the Seahawks. I'm not convincing myself that this Rams defense is great just yet because I don't think they're going to be. They might be better than projected. McCaffrey's really interesting at this price point, but Barkley against Arizona, I love that spot. Yes, I think he'll be chalky. I do, but I like it. And Eckler, I don't know if he's going to play. I assume he will. If he doesn't, you should be looking at Kelly because that guy had 16 carries last game by design. What a weird top tier this week between these guys.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And it seems at first glance that you're going to want to try to pay up. I think I like running back a little more this week than I did last week. I still don't know what to do with Bijan. He's obviously really good, but it just seems like he's priced at such a premium.
Isn't it crazy though that these guys had Algier and Bijan Robinson had half of the target share for Desmond Ritter?
It's going to be like that.
Yeah, 9 of 18 targets, 6 to Robinson, 3 to Algier. But the issue is that, Tyler Algier had 3 goal line carries. He scored on 2 of them. Bijan caught, what was it, like a swing pass or something? I know it was a out of the backfield pass that he scored on. But this feels like a legitimate timeshare. And as good and efficient as Bijan Robinson's going to be, do you want to pay $7,900 for him when you have Barkley at the same price, who is the clear undisputed bell cow back? Like, or even Josh Jacobs this week at 7,100, I think is another spot where if you're talking about paying up for a guy, Jacobs against Buffalo, that Bills defense had some, got gashed on a few plays yesterday in the ground game. And it's always their secondary that's been a lot better than their run defense. Derrick Henry at 7,400. I know Tajay Spears had more snaps than he did, but you were never prominently displaying Henry in the passing game anyway. I don't love it that happened. But I just think there are, and I don't really want to play Tony Pollard against the Jets defense as good as he is. I just have too much respect for the Jets right now. But going from 7K and up, there are a couple of guys that are just clear bell cow backs in good matchups that I probably get to over guys like Robinson.
It's more to me just trying to envision, and we'll talk about this on the podcast a little more. How often am I going to have two backs north of 7 on the same team? Like, can I have the Saquon and Derrick Henry builds? Can I have, McCaffrey and ETN, even though, he's 6,900? Those type of builds I think are pretty interesting this week, but I'm not sure what it does to the rest of your lineup, because I'll tell you, as I work down a little bit, there's a lot of guys that are fine, but there isn't a guy to me that stands out in the 6K range.
You say there's nothing that stands out in the 6K range?
I mean, ETN is 6,900, and I think he's going to be very, very solid in a high total game. You've got Aaron Jones is questionable. Mixon, Gibbs, Connor, Cook, and then Dillon kicks off the 5s. Like, that's not the most inspiring range for me.
Bro, you know what I don't like about ETN? They were down 21-17 with 5 minutes left in the game, and Tank Bigsby got both of the goal line carries.
Yeah, it's not great, but he still had 23 touches, 5 targets.
Absolutely. For sure. For sure. But I don't think we can ignore the fact that in a crucial spot, like down 4, Bigsby got the goal line work. It's just something to consider.
He's good.
Clayton said, does the lack of bell cow backs pretty much end the 3-back lineups? Yeah, I mean, I feel like the 3-back lineups in DFS have been kind of phased out for a little while now. It certainly doesn't help. I still think it's going to be slate specific, though, in some cases. You're just, once in a while, you're going to have 3 guys that are bell cows and one of them that's pretty discounted.
And it makes it difficult, no doubt about it. But we're talking about a lot of guys. All this means is that they need to get there on, more volatility. Each touch needs to be more valuable. There are plenty of guys that can do that. Like there's going to be slates where guys get 12 to 15 touches and they put up 35 fantasy points just because they have some monster runs in there.
I want to get to this lower sub 6K tier because it gets interesting. Before we do though, hey, shout out to our sponsor, Owner's Box. We partnered with them recently, and we just did the free month of Stochastic NFL Sims Max package, $199 value when you just signed up over there and deposited a minimum of $10. Now, they have a $500 deposit bonus. In order to convert that, I figured this out yesterday. And in order to convert that into cash after you play through some of it, all you have to do is click on your name in the top right, and then you can see convert Owner's Bucks. And in case any of you were wondering, because I didn't know, I went to Tom. I asked our CEO, I was like, yo, how do I convert this? He's like, yeah, it's a little weird, but it's up there. $500 first match deposit bonus. You can convert those Owner's Bucks into cash as you play, and Superflex DFS contest, which is absolutely ridiculous and a whole lot of fun. Now you go into the lobby for week 2, looking at all of the contests they have. You're going to have more NFL contests that are big that could very potentially overlay like this one. This filled at 80%, Ben, for 50K up top, $200,000 prize pool last week.
Yeah, that was in there. It was, like I said, totally different way to build. Interesting. The super flex concept where you can get the double stack with 2 different quarterbacks. I had some fun with that. And listen, there's no doubt, there's no argument. The number one thing to being profitable is if you can find some contests that don't fill. I don't care what site. If the contests aren't filling, there's dead money in there, and you're just at a better situation. So that helped me out a little bit because my lineups were not overly effective, but I still clawed back a lot more than I would have if that contest had filled.
And also, you're getting a free week of our NFL Sims Max package. I mentioned that the month was going away after Sunday, but a week is still awesome, especially if you're going to be playing on a site like this anyway. My recommendation, always take advantage of as much of the bonus as possible, up to $500, but you only have to deposit 10. The link for this is in the description. It's in chat. A free week. You're getting our NFL Sims Max package. So the contest generator, the Sims tool, which literally makes your life building lineups easier than it's ever been in DFS. Complete game changer here without question. But hey, all of our ownership projections that have been around forever, player projections, top stack tool, top single game plays tool, all of our showdown content, all of our data and tools, the lineup generator, if you still wanted to use that, the premium Discord, everything is 100% free for the entirety of the week. You just have to use that link to sign up at Owner's Box, deposit, and we'll email you within 24 hours. So you do it today. Now you familiarize yourself with the tools. You familiarize yourself with Owner's Box. We have Owner's Box set up for ownership projections in the sim, in the top stacks tool. All of that we have for Owner's Box. Get yourself familiarized for Showdown because we have sim showdowns. We're the only place out there that has sim showdowns like this. So great deal. And if you're just going, you know what, I want a full month. Maybe you're like, hey, all I want is the package. All I want is this. I don't want to go through anything else. I want a full month of this. I want all the tools. We still are discounting them by 15% if you want to take that path. Link down there in the description and chat. 15% off either the data package, which is the same thing, except you can only generate a certain amount of lineups, or the max package where you can generate up to 10,000 lineups and still have all of our tools. 15% off both of them for the entire month or the week. So play it however you'd like. We got you guys covered. Preeminent tools out there, man. The best tools out there, and we're only adding to them. I couldn't be more excited about what we did for NFL this year. And I personally love that we went sports specific, so you guys didn't have to buy 8 different things just to build lineups. All right. How about, I'm going to rattle off some names for you. Okay. Well, if Aaron Jones is out, AJ Dillon will probably be pretty popular. Can't say I'm enamored with the guy. He has just not looked good at all over the last 1+ seasons. Breece Hall at 5,900 against Dallas. That's a spot you have to probably stay away from with Dalvin Cook in the backfield, but by God, am I tempted. David Montgomery got most of the work, even though Jahmyr Gibbs was insanely efficient on 7 carries. Kenneth Walker at 5,800. I will be going back there for sure. Pierce against Indy at 56. I don't love that, though. Boone was the pass catching back out there on most third downs. Singletary still got 7 carries. Not stoked there. Algier at 5,500, still a timeshare. And now I get to my guy, Ben. He wasn't good last week. He wasn't efficient. You know where I'm going at?
Yeah, he still had 17 carries, did he not?
And he played 80% of snaps.
He did. And
go ahead, tell him who we're talking about.
Yeah, when you look at this Tampa team again, I've been adamant. I think over time, Sean Tucker's going to play in, but it's clear that this is Rachaad White's backfield right now. And if you're going to tell me against the Bears team, who, I mean, Green Bay did what they wanted to on the ground, White's going to have opportunities. Now, if he just sucks, you're going to have to live with that. We kind of had to deal with it last week, but you're going to tell me you could get upwards of 20 total touches again at this price in this matchup at home? I'll be right back to him.
So will I. Not to mention, I don't have any faith in the Chicago Bears run defense.
That's what I mean. Look what they did. Look what the Packers did to him.
I mean, you're pretty much at this point talking about a guy who you're saying he's probably cheaper than he should be. And he saw 19 total touches last game, 80% of snaps. You guys don't have to love it. I get it, right? I totally get it. He didn't do much at all. He couldn't get anything going. No one really got anything going for this Tampa backfield, though, and they still got the win. So I'm of the mindset, Ben, that at least for another week, he's going to be the clear-cut guy. And I think they're going to use him a lot against the Chicago Bears and a defense that I have very little faith in. This game's in Tampa, too. I like Rachaad White. He's my favorite cheap running back this week. I will say one last thing, though. In the event that he returns, I think Zach Moss could be a wonderful play against this Houston Texans defense. I see you make a face at that. Let me explain. Number one, Deion Jackson was the worst running back in the league last week. Like, losing fumbles, wildly inefficient. Nothing he did worked even a little bit. But still, guys like Jake Funk and Evan Hull, who, like I told you guys, there's no reason to be worried about that from a volume perspective. They got no opportunities at all. Zero reason to worry about that. Taylor's out at least 4 weeks. I think if Moss comes back, he immediately becomes the lead back on this team against Houston in week 2. And if Richardson's out, you take away the rushing upside for your running back.
It's just a weird team. It's hard to argue with anything you said, and Jackson was wildly ineffective. But I still look at this team and I'm just not sure how prolific a rushing attack you're going to have overall. But the matchup is fair and there is limited options for them. One of, if not the lowest totals on the slate, doesn't make it where he can't get there. You're not paying crazy salary, but I'll be interested to see if Zach Moss garners any ownership whatsoever if that's the case.
Say that last part again.
The ownership on a situation like that. I'm wondering if Zach Moss will even be mentioned, when we look at our tools. If this is the case and he obviously has the opportunity, I wonder if he'll be a popular paydown option.
If he starts and they say he's not limited, I think it's very possible after
really
what we saw last week.
Okay.
$4,700. He's cheap, man. That is assuming, of course, that Austin Eckler is in and Joshua Kelly at 5K. Right? Because Kelly, even in a tough matchup, would be pretty popular.
Yeah, he would be a cash play.
Yeah. Rashad White, I think, gets some ownership. Yeah, I think Moss could get some for sure. I mean, Deion Jackson was truly as bad as it gets last week.
Very, very, very bad.
Anybody else? You want to get to some wide receivers here?
No, I don't think you want to dig too much deeper there.
We are 5 likes away from 100. Appreciate you guys. I know it's early in the week. Best show, though. My favorite show. That it's the only sport where we can do that. I guess you can do it with golf. You talk about it early and everything. Not a lot changes, but with football, what other sport are we talking about every week on Tuesday for Sunday games and actually have people watch? You know,
it's fun because you can I love setting up kind of a foundation of what I want to do and then start to formulate it as we get closer each day. I'm not, okay, I'm all in on this guy and I can't deviate. Yeah, maybe something will happen. We'll get some news. We'll see what the tools do. And then I can kind of work through my plan from Tuesday to Thursday to Saturday to Sunday.
Yep. And Adam Baumother. Yeah, I mentioned that briefly, but Kenneth Walker at 5,800 is pretty ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll be going back.
I think I mentioned Rams earlier. This is the Lions. So I think I may have misspoke on that, but Lions here. So maybe I did. But Kenneth Walker 5,800. That's way too cheap, Ben. I know they have Zach Charbonnet, but Kenneth Walker, even though they struggled, go look at his usage, go look at his snap count, go look at the opportunities on the ground. He was the clear guy. Also, he averaged over 5 yards per attempt. It's not like he was bad.
No, not at all. It's just, again, no, as Chad alluded to earlier, there's really no or few and far between guys that will have full consolidation of their backfields. There's always someone to worry about, but Kenneth Walker's towards the top, I think.
Yeah, well, at 5,800. That's
just it's a good price.
Too cheap. He should not be cheaper than James Conner. You know?
Yeah, I think that says a little more about Conner, but yeah.
Fair enough. I don't think Connor's an insane play this week. Oh, I had one more guy I wanted to mention in the 6K range.
Okay.
James Cook.
Attachment to Allen sacks for me, but I'm not sure what else I'll do there.
I would play him by himself.
Okay.
That matchup yesterday was terrible, truly terrible. And he was actually, you can look at the numbers and go, he didn't look that efficient. James Cook was pretty good last night if you watched that game. He didn't make mistakes. He was pretty good. And you know what? Most running backs would have lost or gained a lot fewer yards than he did because he made a lot out of nothing on a lot of instances. Damian Harris and Latavius Murray were barely involved, Ben, and that's been the concern. Are these guys telling the truth when they say James Cook is going to be and can be the lead back? He was very much the lead back yesterday. And going up against the Raiders in a game where I think Buffalo could have a ton of production, that's interesting to me. The only thing we didn't figure out is, will Damian Harris still be the goal line back? And that worries me a bit, right?
Yeah, and we're going to see that more as 8-point favorites. But he did get 6 targets, and that is very encouraging.
Yep. He did.
Yeah.
Troy said, Laffy, love the tweets on the backfield work for every team. Appreciate the work. Thanks, man. Yeah, it took me a long time, but I think I mentioned to Ben, I do that anyway, like to get ready for shows, to prepare for stuff. I go through, I figured why not put it in tweet form. The thread was so big though that they wouldn't let me add anything to it. I had to start a whole new to a tweet thread.
So I don't understand. Just out of curiosity, as we try to keep the show probably go longer than the last show, it's still called tweets though. It's not
No,
like
they're posts.
X's.
They're posts, and I misspoke.
Nice job.
What are you trying
The
to
X,
catch?
but
What
the
are you
X
trying
tweet.
to catch me up to?
Well, I don't understand. The X tweets,
Listen,
that doesn't make any sense.
I'm still learning too. I'm just
I think
trying
it
to
should be called
spearhead.
X's.
I'm just trying to spearhead all of this. That's all.
Okay.
Just trying to lead the charge. But yes, it was a post thread, Ben.
Post thread.
And,
Gotcha.
You guys should check it out. I promise you it'll have some helpful information in there. Even Ben quote posted me
Yeah, I
and said
I
he
X'd
found
it.
some interesting info in that as well.
It was good. Super insightful stuff. Definitely check it out.
Follow Ben too at JazzRaz DFS.
Why not?
It's a good follow. Also, when Ben tilts on Twitter, it's subtle, but it's great. Follow me, Laffy_. Our handles are right under our names on the screen. So come say hello. If not, we have some fun. All right. Wide receivers. Here's what I'd like to do. I want you to give me in order. Okay. Among the highest priced guys today, I'm kind of throwing you a curveball here. We don't prepare for this in the traditional sense. The 5 highest priced guys are Diggs, Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown against Seattle, CeeDee Lamb, and Devontae Adams. In another universe, I may have mentioned Garrett Wilson here, but we don't have Aaron Rodgers. Give me those guys in order. I have an order that I like them in. I want to know what your order among the guys in the top 5 at their position at wide receiver.
So it would be St. Brown, Diggs, Chase, Adams, Lamb.
You got St. Brown ahead of Diggs, huh?
Yeah, Diggs definitely has a higher floor, but St. Brown at home in a game that I worry a little about Buffalo. I mean, listen, you could win 42-10 and everything is fine. I just worry about Buffalo just handling them, leaning on Harris. We see Latavius a little bit. Diggs gets his, no doubt about it. But like to me, St. Brown, he's gonna have some of these like 15 target games, and I think this could be one of them.
I get it. I have him second, so it's not like I have him fourth. I have Diggs, St. Brown, Chase, Adams, Lamb.
Yep.
Are we just flipping the first 2, or did you have?
Yep.
Okay. And then once you get into this other 7K range, right? I'm going to unfortunately skip Garrett Wilson here. You just can't really do it. They got that front office has to figure something out. They got to bring somebody in. I don't care who it is. They got to bring somebody in at quarterback.
They're not going to. They're not going to.
Well, that's dumb. But anyway, Ridley, Allen, Metcalf, Hopkins. I'll give you my 4. It's going to be Allen, Ridley. God, I don't know if I can do this, actually. I like all of these guys. I also really like DeAndre Hopkins this week, too, which might sound crazy to some people. I don't know if I have. I thought I did. Now, the more I look at it, I think you could probably put Metcalf up top. I think if you wanted to, you could put Ridley or Allen up top. I wouldn't put Hopkins up top there just because Tannehill was absolutely atrocious. Both of those interceptions that he had on throws to Hopkins were not even remotely Hopkins' fault. But he had a 38% target share and he ran around on 90% of dropbacks. He's going to have some huge games. I think I want some of all of these guys this week.
I definitely
Can you order them.
I mean, I can. It's just one of these things. There's got to be context because I would have Hopkins last, and I still like him.
That's what I just said. Yeah. That's what I was just saying. Yeah.
It would be actually in order for me. It would be Ridley, Allen, Metcalf, Hopkins. I'm just really high on Calvin Ridley. I mentioned that before the week 1 show. I liked him. He had 11 targets. He obviously caught a touchdown, just got over the bonus. So he really maximized his points. But I'm just going to keep buying on Calvin Ridley.
Okay. I think you probably should. But I think, excuse me, Allen against a pass funnel defense.
Yep.
Also very enticing. Metcalf against Detroit, 49 total game. And then Hopkins, I just keep coming back to this because it's a matchup against, this is not to say that the Chargers can't get some pressure, right? You have Bosa and Khalil Mack on that. Like they got some guys for sure until they're all hurt eventually, right? But, and it's not like they have a bad secondary either. I think Tyreek Hill's the best receiver in the league. I would take him on my team over Justin Jefferson and over Jamar Chase. You guys can have a field day with that in the chat, but I think Tyreek Hill's the best receiver in all of the National Football League. So I'm not surprised to see what he did. But DeAndre Hopkins is still a crisp route runner. And he went up against Lattimore, still beat him a couple of times. 13 targets on 34 attempts, 38% target share. There's going to be some really big games for him. And I don't see any other way that he's not getting a ton, double-digit targets basically every single week, unless you just go heavy dose of Derrick Henry in this game, which I think is plausible. But I'm just looking at volume for Hopkins, and I think it'll be there. But I'd still put him fourth among those other guys.
Yeah, I don't really like that game. I worry about kind of the profile of it. It's not going to be for lack of volume, though. He's going to be busy. And with that, and the price tag's reasonable. So again, I can't stretch it enough. Hopkins, I would love to get 2 or 3 of these guys in the same lineup if I could.
It's a good call, yeah. I don't think there's any reason you can't.
No, you probably just can't go get like McCaffrey then.
Probably not. But just say, like, there are some low 6K, high 5K running backs. There's Rachaad White. There's Daniel Jones. There's Goff. There's Richardson. There's some low 6K quarterbacks too. You can have some fun with this. Where else do you want to go in the 6K range? Pittman had double-digit targets in week 1.
I was encouraged by Pittman and Richardson in the kind of the same context. He almost had the 100 yards, obviously scored. Houston, I mean, that's pretty appealing to me. You can always have, I prefer Metcalf. I think most people do, but Lockett is still there. He didn't have a good week 1, but I'm not overly concerned. I don't really have anything. God, Mike Evans, I don't know what to do with him. I'll be honest. He had 10 targets, but I think I have those guys ahead of him.
You would agree though that that's one of those scenarios where you have to monitor closely, because we haven't seen Baker Mayfield in regular season action. If he locks onto a guy and just, likes Godwin and likes some of these other guys, but really likes Mike Evans, those, that high target share for a low 6K Evans could be pretty enticing each week.
Definitely. And that's, again, Bears. It's a good matchup. There's going to be, just thinking about how my lineups might look, I might have a very balanced portfolio where I'm just peppering like the 6K range in from quarterback to running back to receiver. And I just have like a lot of pretty solid players, no superstars, no pay down options.
I want to hit mid and upper 5K with you. Then we'll get into some value. We'll just call value sub 5,500. Arbitrary number, but it makes it easier to do this show. Gabe Davis, 5,800. Brandon Ayuk coming off a 2-touchdown game, but it goes back to what you and I were discussing earlier with how many mouths there are to feed there. Mike Williams, 5,700. Debo's 5,600. There are some guys in that range that you wouldn't be surprised if they had huge games. Do you have any preference among them?
I don't know about preference, only in the sense that I think almost all of them and anyone in this range doesn't really have the floor that you're looking for, which is fine. You don't need it if you're talking tournaments. Like Gabe Davis, it's going to be a great pairing with Josh Allen. It's Gabe Davis. He has like 2 or 3 monster games, and when he doesn't, he has like 4 targets. He's not going to get you there. Yeah, you got to just live with that.
Probably end of season, he averages like 6 targets a game.
Yeah, but he'll have 3 games of like 14 targets.
Where you absolutely need him. And he has 250+ yards touchdowns.
Yeah. And then, I think Mike Williams probably, if he can stay healthy, is maybe the highest floor of these guys. Debo's explosive. Ayuk was great, but a lot of mouths to feed there. And I know Sutton doesn't technically count, but he's 54. I'm going to loop him in. I think he's fine against Washington.
Family Man said, gotta say, Christian Kirk looks real good at 5,100. Yeah, a really interesting spot there, right? Because Zay Jones was targeted a lot in that game. Calvin Ridley, we saw that huge first half. Christian Kirk targeted 3 times. The concern I have is not that Christian Kirk just disappears into obscurity, but it's that what I mentioned earlier last week when I was talking about Evan Ingram, there's just so many different ways that this team can go every week. Zay Jones played 89% of snaps. Ridley played 81. Christian Kirk played 60. So only 3 receivers played. Agnew played 3 snaps. Tim Jones played 2. So really it was Zay Jones, Ridley, and Kirk. Kirk played 42 of 70 snaps compared to 57 for Ridley and 62 for Zay Jones. Even Evan Ingram played 51 snaps, 73%. So could Kirk have some big games? Absolutely. But now that Ridley's in town, 5,100 is probably where Kirk should be.
Yeah, I think when you look at this Jacksonville team, they have weapons at every level, and that's a blessing and a curse because one week it's going to be Kirk. There's no doubt about it. But when it's not, it's really not going to be. Like, you're going to see bad games from Ingram and Kirk and Zay Jones and Ridley and ATN. That's just that type of team. I think they don't have a concentrated offense. It's, again, a blessing and a curse. So I'll have attachments to Lawrence, but I don't know how you feel confident about any of them.
Double-digit targets for Nico Collins and Robert Woods last week. Obviously, that team was playing from behind. I thought Stroud was fine. It was a horrible matchup. They couldn't get anything going. He was fine, right?
It was, I mean,
like, he didn't make mistakes.
Yeah. 25-9 didn't really tell the story, I don't think.
No, but I laid 9.5 on Baltimore, so I was happy to see it.
So
did you? Yeah. Reynolds at 3,700 in a high total game. Josh Reynolds, you don't have to be excited about that, obviously. Jaden Reed was very active, played a lot of snaps. He's 30. I'm just giving you some cheap guys. 3,400. And if Christian Walker's out again, or Watson's out again, that's another significant issue there. Josh Downs is 3,400 against Houston. He was pretty active. Nico Collins at 4,800. Probably one that stands out the most. Maybe Zay Jones at 4,700. If you want to get crazy, Marquise Brown's 4,900. But Josh Dobbs, man, that's not what you're looking for. I think there's some guys here, nobody that I love, but I could see myself getting, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, getting to some of these cheap guys mixed in about.
Yeah, I think that's really all it is. And we'll see, more often than not, there will be a Mark Andrews-esque situation with some wide receiver this week where they pop up on the injury report, they're limited, they're out, and all of a sudden a guy who's maybe on that fringe really elevates himself. So I don't know how low I really want to go. Nakua, Chad just mentioned him. I don't have any. I'm not messing around with San Francisco.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
They're too dangerous. I have no interest in trying to play that game. He looked good, though.
I was going to answer that question as well. And I'm glad you brought it up because people are going to be asking about Puka Nakua, but I'll step back for a week and see what materializes there. I'm still not confident in that team. The run game was still horrible too. They ran the ball 40 times, which good for them. They stuck to it. At 90 yards though, they averaged like 2.3 yards per attempt or something, Ben. It wasn't good. Cam Akers was atrocious. Kyron Williams got most of the goal line work, some pass catching work. But in the passing game, if you want to go to Nakua there, fine. But this is a far cry from that Seattle matchup that we saw in week 1. That San Francisco defense terrifies me.
Yeah, it's scary, that line. And you can say this can help them. Like, San Francisco's a sizable favorite. So maybe they're playing catch up. Maybe you get there in garbage time. Doesn't seem like a priority for me, though.
Any other receivers you want to touch on?
No, not really.
All right. Adam Baumother, San Fran's not a great pass defense.
They're great everything.
I mean, they're good, man. And they'll get to the quarterback. I don't know. Look, if you like Nakua because he's cheap, I'm not going to talk you off of it. I'll put it this way. I think you could do a whole lot worse. But he's 4,900. You're not even getting him at a huge discount. You're not getting him at like 3,900. You're paying for him. I would rather Nico Collins, even if it's CJ. I'd rather Nico Collins at 4,800 against the Colts. Personally.
So would I personally, yeah. I get it.
I'd rather Zay Jones at 4,700 against Kansas City if that develops into a shootout.
Yeah. I mean, you want to attack the Rams, more power to you. I'm not sure that that's a situation I want to get into.
Would you rather Nakua at 4,900 or Zay Flowers at 5,000?
Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I think so too.
I have no interest in the Rams, like zero.
I get it.
I don't,
I totally
I
get it.
don't want to mess around with them.
I'll tell you what you should have interest in. And by the way, almost 500 people watching with us. Thanks to you guys for choosing this channel on a Tuesday morning. I know there's plenty of places to go. One place to go would be Caesars because you're getting $250 in bonus bets. And this is what you're doing. You're clicking the link in the description or the one in chat. And take your ad blocker off too, because for some reason this specific link ad blocks. You go over, you sign up, it takes 2 minutes. You take $50 and deposit it. Take that 50 and put it on whatever bet you like. Watch Ben's videos this week. Watch my picks for every game video. You'll know the ones I like the most. Use that if you want. If you win that bet, let's say it's an even money bet. You're going even money line spot. Now you got 100 because you won. You're also getting 5 separate $50 bonus bets from Caesars just by placing that bet, win or lose. So even if you lose that bet, after clicking the link, signing up, making sure you got this, even if you lose that bet at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because now you still have $250 going to your bankroll that you didn't have before. Those are massive ways to build your bankroll heading into week 2 of the NFL season. And it's not just saying, hey, take free money, because you should. You should get on every sports book possible, even if you're only depositing $50, and take the free money that you're giving you, especially when they're all trying to compete with DraftKings and FanDuel in the online betting space. But also, now, if there's one spot that's minus 115, and then on Caesars, it's even money, you're actually making sure that you're finding the best odds and not being some square that's going and betting only on one book and making the same mistakes that millions of people do every single week in the NFL. So click that link, take advantage of it. $50 into $250. You got to be 21 years or older. And if you have a gambling problem, you should call 1-800 or call, you could text them too, 1-800-GAMBLER. But great promo going right now. It's one of the best ones out there for sports books. Get in if you haven't yet, because I think it goes away on the 19th of September. I think it's gone on the 18th or 19th of September. Yeah.
You got about a week left.
About a week. So get in now before you forget. Tight ends and then defense under 3K. We love to give one of those at the end of each show. What are you doing with Kelsey? And what are you doing with Andrews if he plays?
So yeah, this interesting situation. We didn't really have to deal with this last week. Kelsey is one of those plays. I try to just see what happens, in the sense that I may force a little in, if I get to Mahomes, obviously an easy attachment, but I want to see how much value opens up for every injury, for every pay down option. The ability to pay 7,600 for Kelsey becomes that much easier. The opportunity cost to get that raw point total comes at a direct impact of your running backs and wide receivers. And I like kind of that next range. Like Waller to me is pretty interesting.
I like him a lot this week.
Yeah. So it's not just about Kelsey. He's a luxury spend. And one that if I had to gut feel make, I wouldn't personally.
You want to know who I like outside of Waller? I'm going to tell you. He is sub 4K. I want to see if you can guess this.
Sub 4K, and you like him.
Not crazy. He's not like 2,800.
Dalton Kincaid.
No, but I don't think that's crazy.
Okay.
Zach Ertz had 10 targets last week, but they're just such low value targets. So you want to go 3,500, fine. Luke Musgrave at 3,200 played a lot of snaps. I think he's fine as well. Sam Laporta.
So he's, first of all, yeah, he's going to work into that Lions offense nicely. Obviously can stretch the field a little bit for a tight end. Takes the pressure off St. Brown, and they're indoors. Seattle's defense. I get it. I wish he was a little cheaper, I'll be honest, but you can absolutely make it work at 39.
Consider this for a second, right? You've got a guy that played 83% of snaps in his debut as a rookie tight end, okay? And he wasn't just blocking either. He ran 26 routes on the game on how many dropbacks for Goff? 36. So what's 20? What's the math there? What's the percentage there, Ben? You're good at math.
I am good at math, but I didn't hear what you said. What is it?
He ran routes on 72% of dropbacks. That's pretty good for his first game ever.
Is that a question?
Well, you didn't hear what I said, so I just
you did it. Okay, I was like, this is a riddle.
No. I just didn't. 72% of routes 72% of dropbacks, 83% of snaps, and a game with what, a 49-point total. I think that's live to be a decent spot for Laporta. He might suck, but he was targeted 5 times last game. I have no issues with that either. Yeah, I kind of, what were the target totals for the Lions last week?
It was pretty evenly dispersed. I saw a comment earlier about St. Brown about not getting like caught up with it. St. Brown didn't have a good game per se. I thought he was pretty standard. He only had 8 targets. I expect that to be more of an outlier on the low range for him this year, actually.
You think he's going to see a lot of double-digit target games, huh?
I think they're going to need him. I mean, the Lions, they looked good, and maybe that defense has really made strides, but I still think that St. Brown is in line for big work.
For sure. And then Jameson Williams return, whether he returns and he's healthy and he's good, or he can even play and not drop everything, that's another question, right? You don't even know when he returns.
Yeah, I get Laporte. Like I said, he's a fine pay down option. Your boy, Mr. Okonkwo.
Real quick though, the target share was 28% Brown, St. Brown, 22% Reynolds, 19% Marvin Jones, 16% Laporta. I'm okay with that in this game. Anyway, Chig?
So he got 0.
I don't mind Chig at all.
He had straight 0, but I will say that they missed him on a
down
auto
the sideline.
Touchdown. That's a touchdown if he catches
down the sideline.
Yes.
That's a 50-yard touchdown.
And we're talking about like he's exponentially more popular if he catches that and runs for a touchdown.
For sure. And we know that's what he does is he makes those insane explosive 40+ yard plays.
Yeah. And when he doesn't, you get 0.
Also, you want to know something a lot different than last year where they had a bunch of guys that their names but wish you didn't on the tight end spot. 83% of snaps for Chig.
No, he was out there, and it was obviously super disappointing to only see 2 targets, but he could have salvaged, and he probably should have given the situation. He just, that one play, Tannehill missed him.
Also, that Saints team is so good against tight ends. Chig ran 30 routes.
Yeah, just didn't materialize.
I don't hate that. You know what? I do not hate that at all. All right. That's all I got for tight end.
Yeah, I don't feel the need to like get crazy. We'll see. Chat mentioned Troutman. There are options up and down from 3K all the way up to Kelsey.
I think Adam Bama. I think Tannehill will. I don't think he's going to be good. I think he'll be better and better matchups.
I would hope. Oof.
He needs to be. That's a real tough. That New Orleans defense is good. They really are. They're really good. He still stunk. I mean, he made some really bad decisions and some bad throws. Maybe I'm just trying to be an optimist here, Ben. I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's hit these defenses and go record this podcast exclusive. You guys jumped in late. Ben and I are doing every Tuesday only on our podcast networks. Anywhere podcasts are available. Podcast exclusive, single entry and 3 max strategy. I think that'll really resonate with a lot of you guys who love the single and 3 max approach. I personally love them. I love them, specifically on the bigger sites where they have big contests for those. Huge. So I like talking about that. And there's going to be a lot to get into this week. Greg and I do the afternoon only slate. We'll do that Friday. Set a reminder in your phone. Listen to it on Sunday afternoon when things are going south, or you just need some analysis for the afternoon slate and you can't find it anywhere else in the industry. So come hang out with us. That'll be up soon. My defense, you already know. I tweeted about it already. People can say what they want about Zach Wilson putting Dallas in good field position. I'm willing to risk that. Dak Prescott likes to throw interceptions, particularly against good defenses. 2,700 on the Jets. I just think it's too cheap. I think it's too cheap this week.
I mean, for quality of defense, there's no argument that the Jets are a better defense than all these other defenses. I'd go with the Titans. I know we'll see what's up with Eckler. Yeah. At home. I think that game is going to crawl a little bit. I think Herbert is still prone to make some of those pretty aggressive throws. 2,400. Not a lot. I have no interest in the Rams. No interest in the Cardinals, even though Daniel Jones could be running for his life as
I
again.
thought you were going to say the Cardinals, honestly.
The Cardinals are just so bad that I don't like taking defenses where I think that their offense could just end me.
That's fair.
It's just like,
The only reason I'm cool with that on the Jets is because their rushing attack, I think, is going to keep them afloat.
yeah, I don't, for some reason, I don't know why I don't worry about that with the Jets as much as I do with the Cardinals.
Me neither. I also think Robert Saleh is a good coach.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Robert Saleh fan. I know people don't like him, but I do.
I thought he managed that game late really well. People were like, what? There were some really silly questions I didn't understand. I think Falcons at 2,900 is fine too. But go ahead.
Yeah, Chad. I mean, Adam just mentioned. What about the Raiders at Stone Min? I think that's fine. Like, I expect the Bills to roll over them, but Josh Allen still, all it takes is a couple fluke plays and you're there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like it, but it's defense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's defense.
People are like, why would they do that? Why would they go for it on 4th down if they were just going to run the ball 3 times? Easy. You force Buffalo to use all their timeouts. You know? People were like, people were trying, no. People were trying to question the game management there. They were saying that after they converted the 4th down, that they should have started throwing it. For me, it's like, no, get the 4th down on 4th and short, right? And then take the ball out of Zach Wilson's hands, force Buffalo to call timeouts, and then lean on a defense that has been purely dominant all day to try and limit Josh Allen and that Bills offense with a minute and some to go with no timeouts. To me, I thought he played it perfectly.
I think that there was no bad idea whether to go or kick on 4th and inches. I wouldn't blame them for kicking. I wouldn't blame them for going. There is no scenario that I can think of, no matter what the situation was, where Zach Wilson should have ever been throwing the ball at that point. Ever. No matter what.
Right. But once you got that 1st down, the job was accomplished. Now you're forcing the timeouts.
You would be better 100. I'm being dead serious. Just taking 3. If you don't want to do anything, just take knees and say, okay, that's it. And kick. Because if you throw that and he gets picked, that would be the number 1 headline of the day of like, what were you thinking?
Yep. So for people to be up in arms that he wasn't throwing the ball there, it's Zach Will. What do you do? Why?
You would never throw there ever.
No, the defense won you that game. If it was Rodgers, sure, you might take like one shot that if you don't get it, it goes out of the end zone, you know. But although it was Nathaniel Hackett, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised he didn't just punt to pin him back and plan for overtime.
Well, don't forget, against the Colts last year, in that game that went into overtime at 9-9, that the dude won the showdown slate with a single bullet with 2 defenses and 2 kickers. Don't you remember? They were about at the same place on the field, and it was 3rd and 8 or something. All they need to do is kick a field goal and let that stellar defense stop Matt Ryan, who couldn't get a thing going. And Hackett decides to throw it into the end zone, and it gets picked off. Colts came back and tied it, won it in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't even register on like the bad decisions from.
No, that was a horrible one, though. You can't overlook how bad that decision was.
Still not in the top like 15 of what that guy did last
All right, then
year.
what were the 3 worst decisions Hackett made all season?
Well, whatever happened in game 1, you remember that where they took it all the way down to kick like a 70-yarder?
And also decided to run like 4 minutes off the clock. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get it.
This is an overarching theme, but I've never in my life seen they needed the crowd at home to count down the play clock so they would stop getting delay of games. That's, again, overarching. They lost a couple other ones where they did they tie last year? I feel like there was a game where they tied.
Probably.
It's all a blur. For obvious reasons, I try not to think about these type of things.
I'm telling you, though, that throw, when you could have just leaned on your defense. Problem is Hackett never learned from his mistakes. Anyway, man. Appreciate you guys hanging out as always. You're the best. This is a fun show and glad to have you with us. Follow Ben at JazzRaz DFS, me at Laffy_D. And rep that stochastic avatar, man. We still got the Hall of Fame. Jordan and I are just about to record it. You finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and you're repping the avatar, stochastic.com/avatar, DraftKings, FanDuel, Owner's Box, wherever it is you play. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Tweet us. And at Stochastic HOF, the rules are simple. You're getting a free month, $199 value, all of our NFL tools, literally everything on the site.
One last thing. This is a cool comment. I do want to highlight it. I thought about this too. SMP 1993 says, I'll go to my grave saying Buffalo should have deferred in overtime. I thought about that too.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, let's just say touchback, and then you hold them to a 3 and out.
Then you need a field goal to win.
Yeah, you probably get the ball back at like your own 35. Or there's a mistake and you capitalize and create a takeaway.
The only way it's obviously a terrible decision is if you allow a touchdown and you don't get the chance.
Of course.
But if you give up a touchdown to the Jets marching the whole field, you don't deserve the ball.
That's not a bad call, SMP.
I think that's pretty savvy. If you stop them, now you are in control and you play to win. You don't have to worry about, do I need a field goal? Do I need a touchdown?
The odds for the Jets to score, I wish I saw those flash odds. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Lightning odds or whatever. I wish I saw what the Jets were to score a touchdown on the drive. We never got it anyway. They never had possession. But what do you think it would have been for them to score a touchdown if you had to guess?
Well, don't forget, at the time, like you're saying, if they got the ball first, because at the time they wouldn't want a touchdown. Field goal wins.
No. If the Bills deferred.
Yeah, okay, yeah. If the Bills deferred a touchdown, it would be plus 700.
I was going to say 8-1, yeah.
Yeah. It would be high. Not to mention, because they would take the field goal in almost every 4th down situation.
Right.
Because they're going first. Like, they're not going to go for it. So, like, your TD equity is really low there.
Especially with how well that defense have been playing. They're like, we got a field goal. Just limit them. Yeah. Appreciate you. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Ownership Top Stack Show, Marathon Matchup Show with Linquist and myself on Thursday. We have we'll do a whole Sims strategy show on Friday, tournament strategy Saturday. It all culminates in the 3.5-hour deeper dive and live before lock on Sunday. Stick with us. If you can't make them all, no big deal. Everything gets uploaded to podcast, including our podcast exclusive stuff. So hopefully we'll see you guys over there for a single entry 3 max. Ben and I'll be breaking that down. We keep it under 30 minutes. We get in, we get out, get you guys what you need. And we'll see you back here for the next one. Peace.